Good evening, everyone. My name is Oluwatomi Ogunsanya, and I am the current president of Howard Student Chapter of ACS. It is my pleasure to be here today, and it is my pleasure and honor to introduce to you our keynote speaker, the Honorable Letitia James. Attorney General James serves as the Attorney General of New York, my home state. Attorney General James is the first woman of color to hold statewide office in New York and the first woman to be elected Attorney General. Attorney General James graduated from the illustrious Howard University School of Law. And after that, she began her career as a public defender in the Legal Aid Society. Before becoming the Attorney General of New York, Attorney General James has also served in the New York City Council for 10 years. Attorney General James was also elected as the public advocate for the city of New York, making Attorney General James the first woman of color to hold citywide office. ACS is honored to have a trailblazer such as Attorney General James here with us today. Thank you for being with us, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that kind and that warm introduction. And it's an honor and a privilege to be introduced by a fellow Howardite. And I know the incredible education that you are receiving and the opportunity that you will have upon graduation to explore the world and really to make a difference. I also want to thank Senator Feingold, who I had the opportunity to watch last night on MSNBC. I want to thank him for the opportunity to be here amongst a community of scholars, legal scholars, that so much values the laws of our land and the production of a government that is of the people and by the people and for the people. If there is anything that the past 4 years has taught us, it's that the Constitution is only as strong as the structures and as the systems that uphold its values. And these structures and these systems are challenged by our legal system each and every day. And you know, being here tonight reminds me of my own journey to and from law school and of the winding career that has followed. And through my experience as a public defender, a New York City Council member, the public advocate for the city of New York, and now as the Attorney General of the great state of New York, I've gained a unique perspective that has both kept me humble and steadfast in my pursuit towards a more just and equal society. And now it is my job and that of those who carry out the work of my office to uphold those structures and to ensure defense is always at the ready for attacks on justice, attacks on democracy, attacks on equality, and attacks on liberty. When I was a student, I would often ask myself, what can I do to make this world a better place for others? Because I believe that the greatest sacrifice that you can make is when you put others before yourself. The answer on what I could do to make this world a better place, the answer was rather simple. And the answer was everything. The small gestures matter just as much as the grandiose ones. And sometimes, my friends, even more. With a state as diverse as New York, we fight all types of battles, both big and small. The lawsuits and agreements we bring forth have the ability to create life-altering changes to people's lives, whether we are suing Facebook or Google for violating our antitrust laws, or we're protecting protesters who are exercising their First Amendment, or whether or not we are defending health and safety by protecting our environment. New Yorkers know that I have their back. And when we file with other states, they know we have theirs. And they also know that when we file together, there is strength in numbers. Our antitrust suits against Facebook and Google are great examples of how state attorneys general's offices work together. In our suit against Facebook, my office is leading a bipartisan coalition of 48 attorneys general across every attorney general, almost every attorney general in this nation, because we all agree that Facebook has gone too far. Quite simply, its efforts to dominate the market were as legal as they were harmful. For nearly a decade, Facebook has used its dominance and monopoly power to crush smaller rivals and snuff out competition, all at the expense of everyday users. Instead of competing on the merits, Facebook used its power to suppress competition so it could take advantage of users and make billions by converting personal data into a cash cow. We took action to stand up for the millions of consumers and many small businesses that have been harmed by Facebook's illegal behavior. And this lawsuit and our lawsuit against Google sent a clear message to these companies and every other company that any efforts to stifle competition, reduce innovation, or cut privacy protections will be met with the full force of our offices. Civil rights are not a zero-sum game, and we all know that. And just because someone is fighting for their rights to get respected doesn't make someone else's rights less important. And the quality of our environment and our success to clean and safe natural resources is a perfect example. Over the past 2 years, my office has been a leader in this very battle to protect the environment and to combat climate change. And despite the record-breaking natural disasters and devastation our country has experienced this last year, and the continuing rise in temperatures and sea levels, the Trump administration continued to recklessly roll back key environmental protections, putting at risk our health and our safety. So in 2020 alone, my office took more than 70 legal actions to stop these disastrous and relentless attacks on the environment, to ensure that our communities are protected and our planet remains safe for generations to come. And as fortunate as we are now to have a federal administration that takes seriously protecting health and the environment, we cannot pull back to slacken our work. The COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare the effects of systemic racism on the health and the well-being of people and communities of color. And my office pushed environmental justice forward during the previous administration and through the worst of the COVID pandemic. But there is still much work to be done. Over time, I learned that being an attorney opens the door to justice in ways that no other profession can. And I decided to become an attorney because growing up, I witnessed many injustices. And I'm sure some of you obviously can relate. We will never, ever eradicate justice, but we continue to focus and work on a more perfect society. It will always, unfortunately, be there. And we will always have to stand up, my friends, and fight back using the power of the law, both as a sword and as a shield. The important part is to always remember, despite how much is present, despite how pervasive it is, it sometimes may seem, or how many powerful forces protect it, seeking justice is always worth it. The world will try to convince you otherwise, but don't let it. If you're here tonight, I think it's a fair bet that protecting the rights of the collective is important to you, that standing up representing the interest of others is important to you, that putting the interest of all of those who are locked out of the sunshine of opportunity is important to you, that standing up for vulnerable and marginalized populations is important to you, that all of the issues that my office focuses on and all of the issues that we have defended over these last 2 years during the previous administration is important to you. I'm glad that you were here. And I hope that your law school career has reinforced and enforced your belief in what is right and what is just and what is fair. As a graduate of Howard Law School, the laboratory of the civil rights movement, I know mine did. And I hope that being part of ACS and also participating in this conversation and in this convention has reinforced your commitment, my friends, to making equality and justice a goal throughout your career as attorneys. The network and the resources that are available to you through this organization are truly remarkable. And Senator Feingold is a wonderful example and an excellent mentor. And I wish each and every one of you a successful and fruitful career as attorneys. And know that you are in a privileged class and know that much has been given to you, and therefore much is expected. And know that you have the power to make a difference in our society. It's important that you understand that. And it's important that you improve people's lives and that you inspire a more fair and a just society for all of us. Not for some, but for all of us. It's up to you, the next generation of leaders, the next generation of lawyers, the next generations of individuals who will break glass ceilings. It's really important that all of you recognize the position that you are in. And I thank you for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you for that wonderful address.
Thank you.
So we do have a few questions for you.
Okay.
So the first one is, in light of Georgia's announcements of sweeping voter restrictions, may you please outline any of the plans or initiatives that you plan to undertake in commitment to protecting the right to vote in New York and across the country? And also, how would you encourage students to engage now to ensure that their communities have access to the ballot?
So what Georgia did last night, and the quickness of the passage of that sweeping voting rights bill, which would undermine our democracy. Voting is a basic element of our democracy. And I have not seen since Jim Crow laws that would reverse all of the progress that we have made in this country. And it's tantamount to the poll taxes and illiteracy tests, and efforts, again, to discourage and to not allow people of color, particularly Black people, the right to exercise their right to vote. In order to have a true and just democracy, the voices of all individuals need to be heard. And the best way that voices can be heard is through the ballot box. And so my office, during the last 2 years that I've served as an attorney general, we have a voter protection hotline, which is staffed by volunteer attorneys who basically advise individuals with regards to any complaints that they receive all throughout the state of New York. And we work with officials all throughout the state of New York to make sure that there is ballot access, which is absolutely critical. In addition to that, as you know, under the previous administration, we sued the United States Postal Service for dismantling and disrupting their operations during the pandemic. And we sued them because we believe that they were engaging in these types of this dismantling because they wanted to curtail and or delay mail-in ballots. And again, it's important to understand that this was during a pandemic when a significant number of individuals, Americans, all throughout this country were sending in their ballots through the mail. We were successful in that effort, and we were able to get them to reverse their efforts at voter suppression. It's also important to know that we educated individuals about the ballot, how to vote, where to vote. And it was important that we educate the electorate. Again, voting is a basic element of our democracy, and we need to use every tool at our disposal to ensure that individuals have an equal access to voting, and that we do not engage in voter suppression or any efforts to basically dismantle voter protections. And I am looking forward. We are reviewing our options, and we look forward to working with organizations in Georgia, again, to assist in defending, in challenging that bill, which was, again, an affront to our values and to all that I believe in.
Thank you. So when people often think of progressive attorney generals, they often think of how the lawsuits that an attorney general can bring. But there are other tools that an attorney general could make use of to bring that positive change. So can you please describe one or two of your non-litigation initiatives that improves the lives of New Yorkers?
So as the Attorney General, as you know, we primarily do defensive work representing the interests of the state of New York, defending actions that are brought against the executive. We also do affirmative litigation, and that's where I would argue that we make the greatest difference. And so in one particular area that I have been focused on is on housing, police reform, and on focusing on charities as well, and antitrust. And most recently, what we were seeing is individuals who were being victims of deed theft, particularly seniors. And so we launched an initiative, a program that no homeowner in New York should lose their home because they do not have an attorney. And so my office decided to provide assistance to those homeowners. And this provides assistance to homeowners, again, in battling individuals who seek to defraud them of their home, providing legal assistance to individuals who have been duped in the loan modification process and need assistance in that area. We have also, again, sued on behalf of some individuals. We sued some loan mitigation services. We have represented them in court, and we have provided counseling for homeowners all throughout the state of New York. We saw many individuals, mostly elderly and disabled individuals, get scammed into signing over their homes to third parties who promised to save their homes when in fact it was nothing more than a scam. We have provided direct assistance to homeowners, and this program basically tracks complaints based on subject matter. We also have taken, we have engaged in some criminal enforcement against individuals who have attempted to scam seniors out of their homes. We have also used settlement funds to provide to legal providers all throughout the state of New York to assist tenants in regarding their conditions within their homes and maintaining their homes. And those settlement funds were homes as a result of litigation that we commenced in the aftermath of the foreclosure debacle. Taking those proceeds and again, providing it to legal providers all throughout the state of New York to assist these tenants in maintaining their properties. In addition to that, we have taken proceeds to provide to law enforcement officers to purchase body-worn cameras. In the aftermath of Eric Garner, as you know, I was one of the first elected officials to promote body-worn cameras so that you can objectively capture interactions between police and civilians. And so now, and in any criminal enforcement action, when there are proceeds, we provide them to law enforcement agencies all throughout the state of New York to purchase body-worn cameras. We have also, most recently, we sued a number of cable companies who were charging fees to individuals during this pandemic for sports programming and was not providing sports programming. And most recently, we were able to settle that litigation and an assurance of discontinuance, resulting in restitution to consumers who unfortunately did not have any sports programming during this period, but still and yet were being charged. And most recently, as a result of we've often used alternatives to traditional settlement agreements as a result of discussions or litigation to benefit the communities that have been impacted the most. So most recently, a complaint came into our office with regards to being overcharged for a product which is being offered by Microsoft. And as a result of some online purchases, consumers in Yonkers were being overcharged. They were being charged a sales tax that should have been attributed to another part of Westchester. When it was uncovered, we did some calculations. Microsoft agreed. And as opposed to providing restitution to consumers, which was rather de minimis, we decided to work with school superintendents in the Westchester Yonkers area, and they decided to pool those resources together to a total $150,000, which we donated to the school district in Yonkers to provide services for homeless individuals who did not have access to the internet. And we provided them with laptops, with computers, and with Wi-Fi for children who were homeless. And that was really important. And we did that just last week. And so that was really fulfilling. And so we come up with a lot of creative ways, again, to help individuals who are most impacted by our litigation. We are looking, again, in the future, we hope to do more affirmative litigation with the result being inuring to the benefit of communities that have been affected by the case itself.
So thank you for that. So a lot of our student members and leaders may be thinking of working in the state's office after graduation. So can you describe some of the qualities and experiences that your office looks at when hiring new people? And can you also give advice to any young lawyers who aspire to become an attorney general or hold a public position as significant as that?
So I'm looking for talented individuals who are focused on helping individuals. We've got Consumer Bureau, an Antitrust Bureau, a Civil Rights Bureau, a Healthcare Bureau, a Public Integrity Bureau, Investor Protection Bureau. We've got Appeals and Opinion. We've got a wide range of bureaus. I have 1,800 employees. That we have 16 offices from the Canadian border all the way to Suffolk County. And we are primarily focused, again, on affirmative and defensive litigation. And engaging primarily in patent and practice cases on the affirmative side, and on the defensive side, again, representing state agencies as the chief law enforcement officer of the state of New York. And primarily what we're looking for is individuals with the will to help individuals, to focus on justice, individuals. We have not only attorneys, but we have non-attorneys working in our office. We have investigators in our office. We have forensic scientists in our office. We have economists in our office. We are looking for individuals who can foster a strong sense of community and a strong sense of values focused on serving the needs of others in the state of New York, and with a commitment, again, towards justice. We, again, not only service New York City, but we service rural parts of New York State. And we also, again, serve Long Island and Westchester, Mid-Hudson and Hudson, and all the way up to the Canadian border. We also serve individuals. As you know, in the last 2 years, we've been very busy representing the interests of the state of New York against the previous administration. Most recently, we filed a lawsuit against the NRA. We've got a very active charities bureau, ensuring that the trust of not-for-profits is protected and that individuals do not divest and or divert funds from that corpus trust for their own personal use. And that is the allegation that we are making against the NRA. We, again, have a consumer bureau where we are focusing on primarily during this pandemic, focusing on individuals who would engage in price gouging of essential goods. Our consumer bureau also focused on informing workers, trying to protect workers. We've got a lawsuit against Amazon, who has not provided its workers with PPE during the pandemic. We have also some litigation against Juul because they've taken a page out of big tobacco in again, marketing to children, vaping, which we believe harms children. We've got a number of different issues and cases that are pending right now, but the common thread is justice. And justice obviously comes in many forms and in many shapes, and in many teams. And so I just need someone who is committed and focused on justice, someone who is ready, willing, and able to take on some of these cases. We get complaints each and every day. We do a lot of outreach. We are on the ground. We are very accessible. But the bottom line is that it's important that everyone know that our office, the New York State Attorney General's office, is the people's lawyer.
Thank you, Attorney General James. Thank you for your wonderful remarks. They were very informative and inspirational. And I'm sure that ACS is very honored that you joined us. So thank you for your time, ma'am.
Thank you so much for everything. And I look forward to your graduation.
Yes, may I also say, as a New Yorker, I'm very thankful for your service. So thank you for that, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Take care.
You too. So that concludes the substantive program of our program today. We invite you all to join us for an hour of speed networking on the Hoover app. Please note that the speed networking occurs in 5-minute increments. So if you are unable to join, then just please wait for 5 minutes and you would be put in the next slot. We cannot wait to have you at our next networking event. And please check out tomorrow's voting rights program for an opportunity to have your breakfast covered. Check out the Hoover app and agenda for more information. Thank you very much for joining us.